Hello and welcome to the Communications and Working in Construction webinar today. Regional Development Australia, Townsville and North West Queensland is delighted to bring this opportunity to you. We facilitate and work with local stakeholders like all levels of government and the private sector to advocate for economic development in our region. And it's through our role at RDA that we've also been able to work with the Department of Education, Skills and Employment to secure funding for a very special program of which today's webinar is part of. Funding that we have received is to be able to facilitate communications between people in the construction sector, people looking for jobs in the construction sector, and to ensure that we're well placed to capture the opportunities for business growth and new job opportunities in our region. So we're delighted to have that support of the Australian Government for today's program. It's my pleasure as the CEO of Regional Development Australia, Glenys Schuntner, to now introduce you to the panellists and the people providing our webinar today. In particular, I'd like to now introduce Joanne Kewen. She's a lawyer and professional communications coach with Speak Easy. And we're delighted to have Joanne on board to take you through the webinar today. Joanne has coached in Rio, San Francisco and throughout North Queensland, and her preferred residence is here in Townsville and North Queensland. Joanne has worked as an executive project director in San Francisco for 15 years and has won 2 national public speaking competitions. Joanne is the Queensland coordinator for the Rostrum Voice of Youth competition, giving more than 800 young people the opportunity to improve their communication skills each year. So in a moment, I'll hand over to Joanne, but I'd also like to take the opportunity to introduce one of our key partners in this project and also one of our panellists today, and that is Clinton Huff. Clinton is the operations manager for Shamrock Civil. Clinton has a breadth of leadership and senior management experience in the civil construction industry, working both in the public and private sectors, covering a time span in excess of 40 years. His diversity of experiences and associated working networks provide him with a sound knowledge of the Townsville region and the opportunities it offers. Clinton is also a board director of the Townsville Chamber of Commerce. So our sincere thanks from RDA to Joanne and Clinton today, and I will hand over to Joanne to run the webinar now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanne Kewen. I'm a communication coach, a lawyer, and I absolutely love fishing and crabbing in North Queensland. In fact, I finally got my boat license myself last weekend. Communication is a critical life skill. Think right now. Almost everything we need to do, we can pay somebody else to do for us, to do our hair, make our clothes, fix our body, give us legal advice. But we can't pay somebody to speak for us. When we speak, it represents our mind, our thoughts, our opinions, ideas, indeed, who we are. Isn't it funny? All through school, compulsory education, we're taught reading, writing, and arithmetic, and yet this skill that we use every single day, nobody teaches us how to communicate. So, welcome today to Regional Development Australia's some tips and tricks for communication in the civil construction industry. I began Speak Easy because I realised after 25 years of coaching young people that slowly young people were losing their verbal communication skill. A deterioration, young people under the table, crying, claiming anxiety, not wanting to stand up and speak in front of a group. In fact, just last week, one of my very best students, whom I'd been assisting to do work experience with a doctor friend of mine, came in and said, Joanne, she hasn't answered my email. I said, well, doctors are very busy. Let's give her a call. Here's one of our most advanced students, total red, neck up, full anxiety, can't do it. I was quite shocked, to tell you the truth. So we wrote out the script of what she should say. She was mostly praying the doctor wouldn't pick up the telephone. And sure enough, when she made that cold call, when the doctor did pick up, here was this confident young woman that I saw turn into this meek, not knowing what to say. So even talking on the telephone, that mobile phone, as brilliant as it is, and right now one of the most addictive items on our entire planet, has ultimately caused that deterioration in face-to-face. Let's face it, We don't even want anyone to have a message bank anymore, do we? We leave texts. We don't pick up messages. We don't even leave them the ability to leave a message any longer. People are afraid to speak face to face, especially our young people. And why is that? Let's face it, communication is hard. Think right now about maybe some of the problems that you have in your relationships with your dad or your spouse, your girlfriend, or a friend even. All of these relationships, often the breakdown that occurs will be found to be miscommunication. So we're going to learn some tips about that. And right now we're going to look at the agenda that we have up. So we have wonderful Mr. Clinton Huff, who's going to give a personal story. Personal stories are very important in our communication because at the end of the day, that's what people are far more interested in. And then we're going to actually have you learn how to write your personal pitch. And Latent Power, a young man, is going to join me, whom I haven't worked with before, and we're going to put him through that process as you as well possibly have a paper and a pen there to write out your personal pitch and follow the 5 steps that we go through. There'll be a few polls, and then we'll look at the 3 other areas of communication in the civil construction area, and that's after the personal pitch, the importance of asking questions, dealing with suppliers, and then communication with your work colleagues. Quickly right now, I want you to just write in the text box. There's actually a poll here that'll pop up as to what you believe an employer in the civil construction industry is looking for. What do you think out of this list is the priority? Okay, now it's my great honour to introduce Mr. Clinton Huff, and he works for Shamrock Civil, which is a $100 million company, and he oversees, he's the operations manager and oversees a good 50 men, so huge experience in this industry to share his personal story and some tips on you getting a job.
Thank you, Joanne. And hard act to follow. I don't speak as eloquently as Joanne does, but I'll just pick her up on one little point. It's not just for men in this construction industry. There's a damn lot of women in there, and they do a damn fine job as well. So I've been asked to give a bit of a story on my history in the civil construction game, and I probably got asked that because I've been around for so long, because as Glenn has said up front, I've been playing this game for over 40 years. So my story starts way back. I'm actually a diesel fitter by trade. I started out as an apprentice diesel fitter back in 1975 with what was Queensland main roads back in those days. And at that time, the works, it's not an office job. You don't go to the same location 8 till 5 every day. In civil construction, you go to where the work is. And my work at that stage was anywhere in central Queensland. And you'd go out and live in a campsite, stay out there for a couple of weeks at a time, get home for a weekend every couple of weeks. But being an apprentice diesel fitter out in a location like that, you weren't allowed to pull all the machines up any time of any day. So through the day, get to work on anything. And you could be doing anything from helping out concreters doing form Rio pour for culvert bases. You could be down at the quarry and getting a little bit of a play on a load or loading trucks or on a dozer, digging a bit of material out. It was always something different through the day. But for my job, at the end of the day, then you had to run around and do your servicing or any repairs. But it gave me the opportunity to see a breadth of operations within the civil industry. And now I've been in the game for 40 years. I've seen a lot more. And you start to get an understanding that it's not just the specialties. It's not just a lot of my career has been in the roads and bridges game, but then there's a civil works game, which I play in now, which is a lot broader. It's about anything that's horizontal and in the ground. Then you have your vertical civil construction, which is putting all your buildings up in the sky. And then you have specialist areas in mining or airfields, or just talking with Leighton here before, another area that he's been looking at is in landscaping. There's numerous specialist areas you can go into. back to my story, as I said, I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity to start out, do a trade at the same time as I was actually getting general civil construction knowledge all in one go. That's allowed me to progress through and make a career in civil construction. I did have to do some management programs on that, and because I'm an old fart now, we did them by night school, by correspondence. And I think about that and relate that to today's world. It's not about sitting in a classroom. Nowadays, you can still do all that, but you do it over your computer. When I started out doing night school, I was still writing everything out and drawing things up on graph paper, with a pen and pencil, and then sending those off in the mail and waiting weeks to get an answer. Now you do it up on your computer, hit send, and you get a response back a bit quicker by email. So still the same actual process, different applications to get there. As I say to people, I got there where I am today, had to put in some hard yards to get there. The analogy I always give, as a humorous analogy, is you start off in the civil construction game and the roads game, you start off as a labourer, doing any jobs going. And the first job is dig a post hole for the guide post. And the foreman comes along and says you dug it in the wrong place. Can't even trust you with that job. We've got to do something with you. We'll turn you into a roller driver. They put you on the roller, driving rollers, yeah, it's a bit boring, you're going up and down the road, you go to sleep and you go off the side of the road. Can't trust you with that. We'll elevate you to the next level. We'll put you on the back on a loader so you can load the trucks out of the quarry. You start dropping big rocks in the back of a truck body, and the truck drivers don't like that because it throws them around the cab and it knocks their truck around. So you get taken off the loader and they say, we'll put you on a grader. Grader is probably the most specific role on a road job, really fine, finessed work. So you bugger that up and cut things to the wrong level. We can't leave you on a grader. We've got to do something with you. We'll have to turn you into a supervisor. So all the way through, there is a progression path. Probably don't follow the one I just described as buggering things up. It's not the right way to go. But I just want to paint the picture. If you start at the bottom, you can work your way to the top. And that's in any of those civil construction industries I was talking about before. They all have the same process. So the opportunities are there. It's about whether or not you want to grab hold of those and make the most of them. The civil construction game, as I said earlier, it's not an 8 to 5 job in the same place every day. It's certainly about, in most cases, they're longer days. Some cases it's 6 days a week. We personally try not to work 6 days a week because we don't want blokes having to work any more than they have to. But there are those situations where you're away from home and you work a roster and you look at those things. What's some of the benefits out of those types of things? My personal gain is I've seen a lot more of Queensland and Australia than I would have if I was in an 8 to 5 job in an office. I'm outside in the open, out in the air, out in the sunshine. I love that. To me, that's one of the things I prefer to be outside than inside. Now, in a half office job, I still duck out the job sites as much as I can. So if you're looking to get in the civil construction game, start thinking about, well, what are the things that you're really looking for? What are the actual benefits you want out of a job? As I say, I've seen a lot of locations I never ever would have gone to if I didn't take on a civil construction role. And when your employer is paying for you to go there and paying for your accommodation, it gives you an opportunity to have a good look around. It's an outside job, which I like. It's a hands-on job, which I like. Think about, are they the things you want? It's about working in a team, and it's about developing different skills every day. I always say, you go into an office, you're sitting there in front of a computer, you're doing data entry every day. In a civil construction job, every day you're doing a different activity. So you've got to walk in, put your brain into gear when you walk in at the start of the day, work out what it is you're doing for the day, how you're going about that. At the end of the day, saying, how did I go? Did I finish off what I wanted to do? Where are we at? Because certainly, I can assure you, the foreman on the job will be making sure everybody's trying to get to where they need to be by the end of the day. So everybody plays a part in that. And the analogy I always throw in there is, you know, a civil construction crew, and I don't care whether it's a road crew or a landscape crew or whatever, not everybody has all the same skill sets. It's like a football team. You don't have 13 fullbacks and you don't have 13 hookers. You have to have people with different skill sets that fit into the team. It's very much about teamwork. And the part that I found good was, as you develop different skill sets in the civil construction industry, you can go into the different positions on the field. And then as you gather more positions on the field and more skills, that's when you start working your way up that progression ladder, that career ladder I was talking about. I've been lucky enough that, yes, I did on the ground the hard yards, but I did take the time out to also do some of that administrative and training that I had to do back in my day in my own time to get into management roles. Well, that's still there. Those opportunities are still there. Some of the things have changed. Nowadays, there are training programs that are more aligned to work. Some of the training will be done through work. So the opportunities are there. Nowadays, I'm now in a role where I'm looking at young blokes coming through and young ladies coming through. I do what I can to try and pass on information. You'll find that the people who've been in the civil game for a bit longer will all try and help bring through the next generations. We've got Latent here today. He's at a starting point, and imagine a lot of yourselves sitting out there at the starting point. Well, yeah, I've said it. Think about it. What is it that you want out of it? What are the benefits that you see in doing a job in the civil construction game? Align those with, well, how do I get there? Think about what is it that I want to do. As I said, I find in the civil game, there's all the different sectors. There's a lot of people look at the mining sector and say, oh, geez, that's really big dollars. But don't forget, it's the same thing. You still start at the bottom. And my personal pitch is the mining game is the closest to the 8 to 5 office job. You go into the mining game and you're doing the same role every day because you're in a mine site. And it's the same activity every day. Whereas in the other fields of construction, you're doing different activities every day. And you're really thinking about, what am I doing today? So think about it, look at it, speak to people that are in the civil construction industry, find people, talk to them, and get a little bit of advice from those who've been there. So my experience, my story, you can start at the bottom, you can get to the top. Work out what you want to do. As you're going through, if you start in the civil game and you see, I want to do something else different in the civil game, work your way towards it. There will be opportunities. At the moment, COVID-19's been a bugger for everybody, but one thing it is doing at the moment is for the recovery of Australia's economy, the governments are putting a lot of money into the civil construction industries. So there will be a lot of opportunities come up. They're not right there today. They're not very far away. When they've released, we've put money into these different packages. Behind the scenes, there still has to be a little bit of design done. There's got to be a few contracts sorted out and let. So it's probably a month away, but there's a lot of opportunities in the pipeline that are about to hit the deck. So that gives you a couple of weeks to start thinking about, what is it I want to do? Where do I want to fit? Who can I go and see? Who can I talk to? So, as I say, I've been there. I've gone through all the steps. I've got to where I am. And as I said, there's a lot more people around like me. There's a lot more people around a lot smarter than me. But by all means, speak to people. Ask the questions. Work out where it is you want to go, how you want to get there. And I think I'll pass back over to Joanne and let her take over and be more eloquent than I am.
Oh, not the case at all. Thank you very much, Mr. Huff. And Clinton has indeed given his time freely to come along and share that with you today. So you can see just how keen he is as a major boss there to give young people an opportunity who mightn't have the certificates, who mightn't have the degrees. This is a fantastic career opportunity for you. So quickly, I want to replay my introduction when you first saw me. Hi, my name is Joanne Kewen. Now, let's be honest. Even when I walked out, you checked me out. We're human beings here. You looked at what I had on, whether you decided I was fat or thin. If I was scrunched over like this, I wouldn't have looked as confident as with my shoulders back, pulling my breath from my diaphragm. Isn't it true? You completely checked me out. And then I opened my mouth. Now, at that point, you decided my education, my ethnicity, and really whether you wanted to listen to me for the rest of the moments that we share together here today. Isn't that true? Yes? We're just natural human beings, animals walking around, all checking each other out. And when we open our mouth, we make decisions. People are doing that for you every single minute of the day, whether it's entering the shop and talking to the shopkeeper. Haven't you discovered that, like, if you're angry and uptight, suddenly you're in a fight with the shopkeeper? We are mirrors to each other. We reflect each other. There are simple tips in our communication. The simplicity of a smile that mirrors us back, that relaxes people in our communication and taking our time. So if you're nervous about this, indeed, don't be, because new word, glossophobia. It is the biggest fear in the world, okay? More than if you were afraid of snakes, more than if you were afraid of dying, is the fear of public speaking. So with all of us from 0 to 100%, I have some students I work with who are the first ones to want to jump up and speak in the front of the class, and then the others who are under the desk crying or seem to always have to go to the toilet when the task comes to stand in front of the room. So all of us experience this to a different degree. What I want you to know is that it is normal. I fear greatly at the moment that young people throw this word anxiety around all too easily. It's just called adrenaline. And think about it, whenever we challenge ourselves, even that first day driving the grader, you're going to be nervous. You're going to have adrenaline before you start the race, before you go on stage to play an instrument. Whenever we challenge ourselves, that adrenaline is healthy. It's not something to be afraid of or think it's some medical anxiety. It is not that that's occurring. I was nervous today, totally. Didn't sleep so well last night. Just looking forward to this experience and feeling that healthy adrenaline. So don't be afraid of the fact that when you see a Mr. Huff in the room and you want to go and approach him, that you're looking for a job, it is natural that you feel nervous. So how do we approach Mr. Huff? Do I rush in and, oh, Mr. Huff, I really want a job in civil construction. Like, please, if you got a job, I just, bit too much, huh? So let's learn a structure here now. And quickly, I want you to think about, just for later, when I gave that introduction in the very initial instance, what is it that you remember that I shared with you? We'll come back to that. Let's take a look right now at a quick animation that is going to give the 5 steps, and then we're going to demonstrate, and I'd like you to write down your tips. Okay, up goes, indeed, our animation.
The elevator pitch. Let's learn a few simple tips about the first thing you say when you approach someone, or at an interview, or it might be the answer to, tell me a little bit about yourself. Today we're imagining that you are speaking with a potential new boss of a company that you want to work for. Sometimes people call this an elevator pitch. It's called this because it should be short and concise, between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, but no more than 2 minutes. So let's learn a simple structure for this. Firstly, you need to introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Joanne Kewen. Secondly, you need to give a little bit of background about yourself. In this instance, your audience or the person listening is a prospective boss. Thus, you're going to speak about your relevant education or training. For example, it might be, I've just finished my Cert 3 in civil construction and very much enjoyed the introduction to the industry. I'm a hard worker and dependable. I see this as an excellent career option for me and I'm ready to put in the hard yards. Thirdly, you need to make a connection through common ground. Common ground, what does this mean? It might mean research, finding out about the industry or employer you are approaching. So step 3, following on from step 2, could say, I understand that it's hard work and mostly outside in the hot sun or the cold, which I love. I really want to work for your company, whom I know take your time with trainees and will give me a quality apprenticeship. Point 4 of your pitch is the ask. Often people will forget this. They'll deliver a fantastic pitch introducing themselves and then forget to say what they actually want. Example, if ever anything came up at your company, that would be great. No. I want to work for your company. Please, if there is an internship opportunity or an entry-level position, I'm ready to start immediately and I promise you won't regret it. After this, it's expected that the person you're talking to will say something and contribute to the conversation. Finally, point 5, you need to conclude. This should be extremely friendly. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I've gained a great insight into your company. Here's my contact card, and if at any time there's an opportunity to work for your company, I'll be there. Okay, so that's the structure for the content. Now some final tips for delivery of this. Remember, tip 1, keep it simple and concise. Tip 2, don't or are or use fill-in words well or you know. Instead, simply pause. Pause is effective. Tip 3, sell yourself. Don't be afraid of showing your enthusiasm or passion for what you want, but don't overdo it. Stay humble in Australia. Tip 4, smile. It's so simple, but we all get so nervous that we forget it. So paste it on if you have to, because it relaxes everyone. So finally, here is the list of points for the structure of your personal elevator pitch. So write it out, practice it, and use it when you approach people as often as you can. You will find your elevator pitch will improve with practice. Good luck.
Okay, we're actually going to do that exercise now. Generally in my classes, I'm a very face-to-face person. I've actually created Speakeasy to fight against the effects of mobile phones. So the whole online movement, this has been very exciting and challenging. And generally I will work with students one-on-one or in groups, and I very strongly use the video tool because self-reflection is important. We never see ourselves speak. Often as a speaker, before mobile phones, one would practice in front of the mirror so that you can see your reaction and actually observe yourself. So the mobile phone's a fantastic way to do that. I'd like to right now introduce Latent Power, and he's going to come up here now and we're going to demonstrate this. So this is Leighton. Say hi, Leighton.
Hi, my name's Leighton.
And Leighton is indeed the son of my accountant. And Leighton, have we worked on this before?
No.
Are you a little bit nervous?
Yes.
Yes, just normal. See, Leighton's nervous too. So we're going to start with step 1, and I'm actually going to try and use the video here. And I want you to just do the hello, my name is, okay? All right. Indeed, off we go. Practice that one, go.
Hello, my name is
Oh, and your name.
Leighton.
Okay, let's do it once more. Go.
Hello, my name is Leighton.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we would then indeed show Leighton what that actually looks like so that he can see for himself how he went on that. Okay, we're going to do that now, you know, with advanced technical skills here. And here we go. Leighton, there you go. Let's have a look. Come over here. All right, go. Okay, there he is saying, hello, my name is. So what we would like him to do is say that we're going to do it again. What would you say from seeing that, that you could maybe do to improve it? What would you think?
Relax my shoulders more.
All right, excellent. And just take your time. So let's again do the just hi, and let's work on that nice big smile that relaxes everyone. Hi, my name is, and your name.
Hi, my name is Latent Power.
Okay, good, great. Nice, much slower, relaxing, because people will remember checking us out. So we want to give them time for that. So then we're going to look at a bit of background. What do you think you might propose as background for yourself?
My schooling.
Okay, excellent. And what would that be? What would you say?
I dropped out at the end of year 11 and I'm looking to pursue a career in whatever's offered.
Okay, excellent. Have you've been doing some certificates, I think, too, haven't you, at home? You were looking at a white card and things?
Yeah, I've been looking at getting my white card and I've also been doing some internet experiences.
Excellent. So let's aim to put that forward positively, okay? As you can see, it's an industry that respects that the education system mightn't be the right fit for us. So why don't you indeed put forward that, are you completing your high school at the moment?
I'm not.
Okay, all right. So let's just put it positively that I finished school earlier, but that indeed you're looking into the industry and that you want to gain new skills.
Yes.
Something in that frame, just that it's okay that you finished high school earlier, okay? So just your name again and then that little bit of background, short and concise. Go.
Hello, my name is Latent Power and I'm looking to pursue a career in anything that is offered. I'm currently not doing year 12, but I would like to expand my options anywhere.
Okay, good. Leighton did well. Relax, be yourself, that's fine. Imagine that I'm Mr. Huff here. Now we want to make a connection. Okay, you've got that bit of background. Look, I didn't finish school, but I'm really keen and I've been doing some research. What do you think might be a connector? If we were at a party, it's easy because we could connect and talk about who the birthday person is, or if we're in an event, we would find the common ground. We're trying to find here something. You might remember when I did the earlier demonstration and I asked you, what did you remember from my intro? I will often use fishing and crabbing, apart from it being a great love, but it's a good common ground piece in North Queensland. You know, who wants to talk about being a boring lawyer? Way more interesting to talk about the fish and the crabs that we're catching. So I will use that in that way to just find something to make a connection with someone, because that's what you're wanting to do. Mr. Huff is more interested in seeing the 70% of gesture, sincerity in his eyes, commitment, than worrying about indeed if he's got all of his certificates, okay? So now what could we do that you think might make a connection? You've come up from Melbourne, haven't you?
Yes.
What do you think about the comparison between Melbourne and beautiful North Queensland, hot and sunny right now?
It's a lot colder in Melbourne. You get to have a tank top and go swimming every day up here, so it's pretty nice.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So maybe there we could make a connection because indeed, Mr. Huff, remember, and you will have done some research. Remember, we don't walk in blindly to an interview or to if you haven't done a little bit of research. So he spoke about it being a job to work outdoors.
Yes.
Do you think that might be something that you could find a common ground with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Let's try just that let's do the whole. We'll practice because practicing is the key, guys. The more often you practice this, the better and more natural it will be when you go to approach people. It seems a little bit weird, but trust me, those out there getting ahead are practicing their personal pitches. All right. So let's start from the beginning. Hi, my name. bit of background, finished school early, but I'm super keen to start working or something. And then I've come from Melbourne. I love the outdoors, but in your own words, of course. Go, give it a go.
Hi, my name's Latent Power. I came from Melbourne. I have not completed year 12 at school, but I'm looking to find a career that I'm very interested in.
Okay, fantastic. Leighton did a pretty good job. See, when we get nervous, we forget to smile. It is just normal. We're so nervous. But that little trick of just pasting it on, trust me, relaxes you and immediately relaxes the listener. All right, that's very good. And then the next would be indeed the ask. Okay, important. What do you want?
I would like a job, please.
Okay, let's be more specific in this lifetime. The more detailed you get, the better chance you have of getting exactly what you want, okay? So, what area? You were talking, I know, with Mr. Huff, I overheard a little bit. He was making the most of this opportunity about landscaping.
Yes.
Okay, so don't be so broad to anything. You know, we are more impressed with someone who knows exactly what they want and that they're going to get it. So let's start again, and then after that, I would naturally say something. So hi, background, connection with common ground, and then what you want. Okay, let's give it another go. Relax, he's doing well.
Hi, my name is Latent Power. I have not completed year 12 schooling, and I'm originally from Melbourne. So the hot weather up here is a bit of a change, but I'd like to get outside more and explore Australia.
Okay, all right, good. You could see that Leighton started to relax. Just that smile relaxes everybody, doesn't it? All right, and then you said the ask. Then I would say something like, oh, well, lovely to meet you. Welcome to Townsville, Leighton. And then you would have a conclusion. What might your conclusion be? A polite thank you. What would that be?
I'm looking for experience at landscaping at the moment, but would like to further my workings with it. It was very nice to meet you. Here's my contact details. It'd be very nice if I could hear from you again.
Excellent. Okay, super job, Leighton. Let's run through it once more. I want you to just relax, forget that camera for a minute, and just imagine that I was experienced and as familiar with civil construction, and here I am, I'm Mr. Huff, and we're out at an event following a Certificate 3 presentation, okay? So I'm standing here, and you come up and introduce yourself. Oh,
Hey,
we're
Mr. Huff.
breaking the rules.
I've currently completed year 11 back home in Adelaide, where I used to live in Melbourne, and I'm now currently living in Townsville, Queensland. I've just completed a Certificate 3 in landscaping, and I would like to further my experiences with a job.
Great to meet you. Welcome. Great to have you here. I might look out indeed if there are any opportunities with Shamrock Civil.
Thank you. It was very nice to meet you. Here's my business card. It'd be very nice to hear from you again.
Excellent. Look at that. Well done. You can relax now. He did a super job there, and he didn't forget to give that card. You can see the professionalism that leaves with somebody, that he's actually that step ahead and presents that card. So well done. Let's give him a round of applause. You can relax now. Thank you very, very much. So that business card's important. You could see the difference there that it made, that he could conclude with that. So that doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I believe the days of us all looking at our ugly handwriting, which is deteriorating as well, are gone. And so even if it's just having it typed up, you can go to Officeworks, and basically for $1, they'll print you out a card that would have just your name, your contact number, and email address. And that's a super professional way indeed that you end up concluding. All right, so we're going to look at the rest of the agenda now, and we're going to look at these other main forms of communication in the civil industry, which I learned in having some great discussions, because I did my research before I prepared this with Mr. Huff and also Mr. Eric Lollo last week. So asking questions, and then we will look at the importance of speaking with suppliers, and then conversation with our teammates. And I've discovered indeed that the art of conversation is slowly disappearing. And so actually putting in some theory towards that has become important. So asking questions. I don't think that ultimately any of us really do enough of this in even our own personal lives. Often we are very afraid of conflict. We will make assumptions. Rule number one, don't make assumptions, human beings. Don't make assumptions, we get them wrong. So asking a question, not being afraid to show that maybe we don't know everything, is a really good idea. My brief research of the civil construction industry has led me to have an increased full respect. And one of the reasons is that I can see that in this industry, there is a definite career path. Not just that you enter and then do 6 months and disappear. This is an industry that is going to shape you, give you new skills, and that you can continue through until you're 80 and still be working as an operations manager. Not that anyone around here has got to that age in any way, not suggesting that. But often in many industries, I've seen it in marketing, where once somebody hits basically about 30, 35, they're actually more interested now in young people coming through with big, bright ideas. So this industry is going to take care of you. The other thing to remember is that, as we discussed earlier, when I asked you, what did you think that Mr. Huff would be looking for? Was it certificates? Was it having all of the background and experience? No. The most important thing to Mr. Huff is your attitude. Attitude. Showing up, not even right on time, no, 15 minutes before, to show that you're committed to this job. You see, what happens often in the civil construction industry is there is a high turnover. And Mr. Huff estimates that each employee he loses costs him around $10,000. He then has to interview, he's got to read all those applications, he's got to conduct an interview process. And sometimes the person he gives the job doesn't even show up for work for the first day and he has to start all over again. So all that corporate knowledge walks straight out of the door when he loses a team member. And that's how this industry becomes successful and productive, is with strong teams. Think right now when you've entered any new workplace. Maybe you worked at McDonald's. Come on, admit it. How nervous were you on that first day? I remember my first day as a lawyer walking into the legal office I was employed with. I cannot tell you how nervous I was. I had 3-4 years degree, honours, admittance, another whole year program, done everything necessary there to be able to say I'm a lawyer, but I was scared, basically. Anybody is. So be aware that nobody expects you to know too much. And often, as Mr. Huff said, some of these young people, they're sort of a bit full of it, yeah? They'll pretend to know things they don't. But that's natural because we don't want to appear ignorant, do we? We don't want to show that we don't know something. So asking questions. Mr. Huff said that there is no question that is stupid. You're starting out, he doesn't know what you don't know. The only way he knows that is by asking questions. And he would much rather a new employee ask too many questions than the opposite, than the smarty who knows it all already and costs the company a fortune. An example of this might be a young person commenting that, oh, that cement's too wet. It's a statement rather than, is that cement concrete too wet to pass the quality test? So putting it forward as a question instead of making a statement when you really don't know. So it's okay to not know anything. And that is what is expected. You're there to be trained. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Second one was suppliers. So you're going to have, example, a big truck come in again, let's say it's got loaded with concrete, Hey, mate, I've got this truckload of concrete. Can I just dump it over there? Yeah, sure, matey, dump it up. No. This industry wants you to say, oh, hi, introduce yourself politely, but then let me take you to my supervisor. That is the supervisor's job to indeed instruct, because you dump that concrete there and it's got to be moved. That costs money, time, and this is a highly effective, efficient industry, and time is money. So again, nope, not your job. Take them over to the supplier. That last one, speaking with our colleagues. I have always believed, as an employee and an employer, that we are paid to get on with people. Yep, that's right. It's a professional workplace. This is not the place for problems with personalities, dramas with personal relationships. You are paid to be there and get along. Manners. Manners, again, another thing that seems to be sadly deteriorating. But no one will ever receive bad marks for saying please, saying thank you, and being polite, whether it's with the lady or the man at the front counter, with your bosses, with your colleagues, suppliers. Respecting everybody and using polite language will get you a long way. How do we make that deeper connection, though, with a colleague? It's funny, I've been studying law with a friend of mine for, well, now known him for a good 8 years. And, you know, he talks about the law and talks about the weather and facts and things happening. And only just the other day, suddenly out of the blue, he said to me, I'm bored and I think I'm getting really depressed in my job. It was like this enlightening moment. And I realized it was maybe the first time in 8 years that he had actually spoken about his feelings. And suddenly I sort of felt more of a connection with him, that he was being honest, and the feeling wasn't necessarily high and happy, that he was actually a bit down. But I felt that connection for the first time in 8 years. So we're going to have a little quick look now at an animation that just looks at speaking with your work colleagues. Now, some of this might be a little bit 101, but I am discovering and working with young people that some of these rules have been lost.
How to have a conversation and make a connection. Speak in such a way that others want to listen to you, and listen in such a way that others want to speak with you. Tip 1, avoid only facts. Your job, your education, gossip, drama, recent movies, Netflix, TV shows, discussions on social media. Instead, feel confident to begin to share your feelings. Whether you're bored, excited, happy, exhausted, scared, sad. Talking about our feelings makes us vulnerable. But when you share, the other person wants to share too. All of this leads towards making a deeper connection with someone. Tip 2, don't drag your comments out. Keep it short. Here's an example to the question, what did you do on the weekend? Well, it was okay, but a bit boring, you know. I went fishing, didn't catch any fish, but, well, I liked being in the boat out on the water. I was really glad, though, when we finally got back to shore. Or, I went fishing. We didn't catch any fish, but the boat ride was super. All of the information in the first one is the same as in the second one, but the second one is much shorter. I also used pause for effect rather than fill the words in. This emphasizes your message more and makes your speech just a bit more interesting. Tip 3, conversational connectors. This is a simple skill based on listening. The more you practice this, the better conversationalist you will become. This is about identifying those little connectors in what somebody else says They are conversation leads and allow us to branch off onto new topics and keep it interesting. Here's an example. I lived in San Francisco for 15 years. I came home because the concrete became too much and I missed the nature in North Queensland. There are 4 different connectors here. You can talk about San Francisco. Maybe you've already been or you want to go. You can talk about coming home. You can talk about nature or about North Queensland. Most conversations end because they become boring. So listen to the speaker and choose a connector that you are interested in. There's no bigger turn on than a deep conversation with someone. Practice this. Be the first person to approach someone and introduce yourself. Start out light and then pick up the connectors in the conversation and keep the discussion going in an interesting way. Share your feelings. You will be amazed at the difference. Practice this skill and you will make deeper connections in your conversations.
Okay, so some interesting tips there. And trust me, even if you're going to talk about facts, even just to throw in a feeling about how you feel about that, it's very interesting to see the deeper that the conversation goes. And don't forget, if you're going to make that connection, pick the connectors that you find interesting, that you've then got a story to tell. I'm sure you've been with people when they tell a story, but it's sort of double the amount of time that it should be. As we practice our stories, be proud of where you've come from, your experience that's got you to where you are now. Your experience is just as valuable as every single human being. And the more we practice that story and we become observant of our listeners, we realize, oh, cut that little section out. My little story that I think's funny is a bit too long and I've lost people listening to me. Practice this. Become a communication warrior. So in summary, the epic smile, easy. Number 1 communication tip, eye contact. This is it, 100%. I'm sure you've been in a conversation when people skip you over and they look at everybody else and don't give you eye contact. You don't feel like you're a part of the conversation. You don't feel like you're being listened to. So direct conversation lets the person know that you are listening to them when you give eye contact, both listening and your speaking skill. P, personal stories. That's what we find more interesting. I could talk about all the statistics, indeed, of San Francisco, or tell you some personal stories, meeting Mark Zuckerberg at the Zeitgeist Bar, and I'm sure you'll find that way more interesting than all the statistics on San Francisco. So know that people are interested in your personal stories. I and C of EPIC is introduction and the conclusion. And what that's about is first impression. Be aware that you are being assessed with the very first words out of your mouth and the last, because full research has shown there are only 2 things that people remember when you speak. Doesn't matter if it's 1 minute, 2 or 20. It's the first thing you say and the last. 70% of communication is our facial gestures, our features, how we stand, how we say something, our pitch, pace, pause, volume, and emphasis. Use your voice. Sometimes I'm too full on, and my lesson, because we're all learning in this communication game, is to pull it back a little bit. Slow down. Be a calmer speaker. So follow those tips, and that last one, the epic smile. Don't forget to smile. And practice your personal pitch whenever you have the opportunity. A wise woman once said that the aim in life is to find out what you are good at and get paid for it. I encourage you, as Mr. Huff did, to follow your skills. I'm tired of all these students who want to be doctors and lawyers. This short little life is about you doing each day what you want to be doing. And if that's sitting in an office at a computer, fantastic. But if it's being outside and working with your hands and working hard, then I see civil construction as a fantastic career opportunity. Also, let you in on a secret, but The starting rate there is 70,000 for a salary, and lawyers' starting rate is 34 to 36,000. So it's also very well paid for your hard work. And as pointed out with our recent COVID, many businesses shut down, the courts shut down, civil construction kept going. This is a career you can travel the world with those skills. So thank you for joining us today in our communication tips for the civil construction industry. I'd like to welcome indeed Mr. Huff back, and if anyone had any questions there that you wanted to ask us, I would like to ask you, Mr. Huff, if indeed somebody right now is keen, thinks all this sounds super, what should they do right now?
They should absolutely find out who's got jobs going. And there's a number of ways of doing that. There's all the usual things. We're talking about the job seekers going on to Seek and everything else. They're all there. The other one is talk to the local labour hire agencies, because a lot of construction companies, including ourselves, will use those. So there's a number of them in town. Get in touch with those. Do the research that you're talking about early in the thing. Find out what are the civil construction companies in town. Get there, do your personal pitch. Make sure you do leave your information. Leighton did a great job there before developing his pitch and remembering at the end, hey, at the end, this is who I am, get back in touch with me. If you've got something going, more than happy to do this. So all of those tips are great, but go, find out all the labour hire agencies in town, get your name down with them, because if you can get a start in the door anywhere, that's the first step. Do your research on what companies are around. Shamrock's only one of about 20 in town. Go and knock on the doors, leave the information there. If you can't get to see the Clinton Huffs of the world, at least leave something at the front counter, but do a follow-up. Don't just leave it at the front counter and say, oh, that'll be all good. Do a follow-up somewhere within the next week. Rightio. So they're the things I'd be saying. As I say, a lot of our industry do use labour hire in the first instance. And we use that to see if the people, the word you used was attitude. I am looking for attitude. I'm looking for people who are reliable. I'm looking for people who turn up every day. That actually, after they've been there for a little bit, they say, yes, this is for me. And most of our industry, once people have proven this is us, this is what we want to do, they'll be transferred out of labour hire into a permanent role. And what you said before is with regards to if it's not you, if it's not your job, not what you're wanting to do, go and find what you do want to do. Yeah. And for us, using the labour hire agencies, it saves us that $10,000 every time of going through an interview process to try and find the right person, namely to have them walk out. So where you said it's an efficient industry, that's part of our efficiency, is we now know it's a bloody expensive exercise to keep putting people through an interview process, whereas we can see them, they get to see the job, they find out whether or not that suits them, they find out, is this really where I want to go, or do I want to branch out to something else? So.
It also seems a very supportive, like almost sort of family with the teams of men that you work with.
And ladies.
Excuse me, yes. Get with the times.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is supportive. There's with the RDA, they've done up some really good information, and there's actually a little video you can look at with one of our recent trainees. If you go onto the RDA website and have a look there, you'll see a video from Ted Tycho Boson. If you have a listen to him, he's been through one apprenticeship, and then COVID interfered with what he was doing, but he's as happy as in a whole new role. I think if you look at that, listen to him, it'll really give you, hey, this is what I've got to do. This is how I've got to present myself. So I think that's a good little hint to look at too.
And so if you had your time over, Mr. Huff, would you change the industry area that you entered?
No, I'm really happy with where my life's gone. I'm really, talk about feelings. I'm really glad this is happening today. It makes me feel happy and I'm excited. When I kicked off 40 odd years ago, 40 plus years ago, there was none of this opportunity to get the coaching, the training that's happening here and now, and to get the support from the RDAs of the world, and that wasn't available. So I believe that yourselves out there that are now trying to break into an industry, you've got a lot more support in the background and assistance than was ever available previously. So moving on, once you do pick up the role, it is one of those good things is when you're at work, if you're working for me, put the bloody mobile phone away. You don't text it, don't text your teammate over 50 meters away from you saying, hey, bing, bing, bing. It's, hey, get over here. Or you walk over and talk to them, because the last thing I want is people being distracted by mobile phones, because in our industry, safety is number one thing.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about going into the industry, safety will be hammering home to you every day, every hour of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So mobile phones aren't a part of that. So if you're a young person, you've grown up and you can't get it out of your hand unless a surgeon cuts it out, you want to come into this industry, you're going to learn to leave it at the gate.
And that's a good, healthy thing, because as humans, this is what we want. Communication, back to face, good connections. So
one of the other words you used was assumption. Comes from the word assume.
Yeah.
Don't assume that anything, because assume is made up of three vowels, three individual parts. If you assume, it makes an arse out of you and me.
Oh.
ASSUME.
Oh, I learned something too. Looks like I've been using all the right words.
Yeah, yeah.
We hadn't even prepped.
No. So, as I say, and the feelings bit, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling excited. I get a level of satisfaction. I love coaching people and bringing people through.
Yeah.
So, to me, opportunities like being provided here today, I think is really great.
Yeah, fantastic. So we want to encourage all of you. Great career opportunity. We thank Regional Development Australia for giving us this chance to encourage you to speak up, learn your personal pitch, get your foot in the door and work with supermen like this. Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye.